Good evening and salutations, my Days of Our Lives fans. So let's start off with Jake and Gabby for a minute because they both wake up with these dreams of being in each other's beds, and when they wake up, they realize that they are with the respective people that they slept with the night before, and both of them has hello regret look on their face. I'm gonna be completely honest now. As far as regret goes, I feel like maybe Gabby is regretting it a little bit more than Jake. Um, I really do feel like that. I really do feel like when Gabby was not there talking to Shin, and here's a, and this is another thing. This isn't just the regret part because I feel like Gabby is regretting her decision more than Jake. What it really comes down to is that if this relationship doesn't work with Gabby, it's a lot worse than Jake not working out with Ava. Because Shen is your partner. His dad is on the board of directors, I imagine. So if she screws this up in any shape, way, or form, what's to sit there and say that Shen doesn't act hella petty? Okay? Um, and granted, he said a couple of times, and this is something I always find funny. Not really funny, but just like, I don't know, I guess like funny in hindsight, maybe. Is that Shem was asking her a couple of times, do you have any regret? Do you have any regret being together? Um, if you want to sit there and just kind of make it a one night stand, we could just do that, and that could just be that, and, none of the wiser, and there's no awkwardness or whatever. So that was her out. Okay, that was her out right then and there. Of course, she didn't take it because, well, I feel like with Gabby, it's like her way of dealing with things is just to go through it. It's just to forge on through it rather than sit there and think about, you know what, I still want to be with Jake. I know he doesn't want to be with me, and I don't want to sit there and show any weakness, but I can't really help it. That's just how I feel. Instead, she's just like, nope, the hell with Jake. I'm with Shin now. Yeah, let me just sit there and throw myself into this sort of, and you can tell the conversation was just so awkward. Like when Shin was like, hey, I'm going to be staying. I want to sit there and explore this whole thing with you. And, if that's what you want. Like, yeah. I didn't think that you were going to be staying in town. I thought you were going back. Like, I don't know, 15 minutes ago. So we're going to have this awkward conversation. I felt like that's how she was thinking. Like with Jake talking to Ava, Ava was like, listen, I want to move out. I don't want to sit there and rush things like I did with Rafe. We kind of skipped a couple of steps. And I don't want to sit there and go down that path again. But, Jake was like, listen, you can step back a little bit. We can try to have some boundaries and, you don't have to sit there and be homeless. Um, so Ava agreed to stay. And then Ava decided that, we can start our whole little celibacy, um, any afternoon, maybe. Um, so Ava comes over, to Demara to sit there and drop off some papers, um, that Jake left. And I was just sitting there thinking, come on, bro. You know damn well you could have gave it to her secretary. You did not have to come in the office to sit there and say, oh, by the way, these are some papers that Jake left, when I was in bed with Jake. Oh, by the way, I slept with Jake. I just figured you should know that. Yeah, no, that's totally not transparent at all. Um, so of course, she threw the first shot, and Gabby, I think she got the phone somewhere along the lines, and she told Ava that Rafe and Nicole were getting married. And for a good hot minute, I felt like she was angry. Now, of course, she tried to play it off, and she was all like, "Oh well, I'm with somebody better, this, that, and the third." And I think that's when she dropped the bomb of, oh yeah, by the way, I slept with Jake. And so she seemed like she got a little upset. It was like, Gabby, you can realize that not 5 minutes ago or, whenever, that you were just with Shen after also having sex with him. So, yeah, there's that. Um, of course, Jake, for some odd reason, decided to go to Shen's hotel. It was like, hey, just want to sit there and say thank you for always having my back, for always having my back. Really appreciate it. Just some real good um bro code going on. I just really respect you for the bro code, and I have a good flight. And Shen is like, oh no, 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 I'm gonna be staying around town, because. And at that point, Jake was like, oh yeah, I know why you're staying in town. You don't even have to finish saying that sentence. Bro, like, not 5 minutes ago, you were just there having, well, I mean, come on now. We all know what Ava and Jake was doing. So, not that long ago, you were just there with Ava doing you know what. And now you want to sit there and have the depressed and puppy look eyes on your face like, oh man, he's with Gabby now. Bro, I, listen, just like I'm not going to give Gabby any slack, I'm not gonna sit there and give Jake any slack either, bro. You literally made your bed after you finish, sleeping in it with somebody else. So yeah, I got no sympathy for you whatsoever. Hmm. Now my question is, I have a couple of questions, and this is not really. I guess this is sort of on the show. But how was Stefano played before? Like, was because I could have swore I saw a video where the same guy that played Jake now plays Stefano before. So was he played differently? Was his personality different? Or was his personality the same as it is now? I only ask that question because every time I watch Jake on screen, it just reminds me a lot of Johnny Sakara. Now, with these actors, what they tend to do is that more or less they kind of play the same versions as the other version before then. So, like with Jason Thomas being on General Hospital. And then he goes on Y&R, and more or less he's kind of the same. Like his wit, his timing, same thing with when he was Todd, and then he went back, then he went to be Franco. It was sort of the same thing. So I'm sitting there wondering, is that the sort of same way with Jake? Like, was he played differently, or was he sort of the same? Um, Now, Jan Spears is playing Sean like a fiddle, like usual, and just a sob story. And oh, I had a bad dream, and Bella tried to take my baby, and you won't let that happen, and blah 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 blah. Yada 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 yada. Yeah, it's pretty much the exact same as before. Just a nauseating headache of Jan Spears whining and trying to act all sweet and smitten, and I can give two. Now, I'm not going to lie, the other bright spot of this episode, well, this is actually kind of my first bright spot of the episode, was EJ and Bella. Bella came in there hella hungover, and she's sitting there talking about, she got to go and move some boxers and stuff like that, because, Jan Spears is turning her office into a nursery. And at first, EJ's like, you should sit there and fight for your marriage. Don't let her dictate and run you out of your own house. But, Bella's like, listen, after what I dealt with her almost losing a baby or fake like she's losing a baby, I'm not dealing with that. I'm just taking my stuff out and I'm just going to decide. So EJ's like, listen, do your parents have any space? If they don't, you can, have an office here, um, and so Bella takes him up on that, and they go get this. They go to the house to get the stuff, her stuff, and when they come in the door, they see Sean hugging Bella. I mean, Sean hugging Jan, and Bella's like, "Yo, are you serious?" So then they get into it, and it gets to a point. it gets to a point where Sean's like, well, what is he doing here? Bro, you literally got, I want to sit there and say the spawn of the devil sitting like mere inches away from you, and you're going to sit there and say, what is he doing here? So, I mean, more or less, they get into an argument, and, EJ's like, listen, if you were sitting there doing your job, your wife wouldn't be sitting there needing comfort. This was something that he said as far as, I guess, something that happened the night before. So they get into each other's face, and EJ's like, yo, you want to hit me, bro? Like, you want to do it. Now, I will sit there and say, if there's a fight between EJ and Sean, as much as I love EJ, I really feel like Sean is just going to take that one. Because the dude has training. And EJ, well, I don't know what EJ actually has been doing. From what I've heard, he's been he's been a car race driver or whatever. But, if they would have gotten into a fight, it probably wouldn't have ended well for EJ. I'm just throwing it out there. Bella stops it, they get their stuff, they leave. Um, Jan Spears continues to sit there and play Sean. Oh, is everything okay? I feel like this is my fault. Blah 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 blah. This is why I am with Jan. You know what? Screw it. This is actually how I've always been with Jan Spears since the very first time I saw that nut job, that annoying nut job. Um, this is just how I am with Jan Spears. I don't like her. I find her extremely annoying, and this is just one of those recurring characters. Just like, it's Jan Spears again. Great. Um, yeah. Anyway, EJ and Bella get their stuff, get her stuff back to the Mirror Mansion and everything like that, and you know, I mean, if you saw the previews, you know what happens. I mean, Bella cries on EJ's shoulders, and EJ's all like, "Oh well, I would never do that to you." And granted, this is following something that Sean said. Sean was like, "What, Sammy don't want to have anything to do with you, so you sit there and go after Bella next." And I'm like, "Well, I mean, I wouldn't sit there and say no, but uh, let's be honest, they're both blondes, they're both hot. I mean." Listen, nothing that I say coming out of my mouth is going to sound good, so let's just leave it at that. Um, to be fair, I actually do like Bella. I can tolerate more. Bella, I can tolerate more than Sammy. Sammy, I've known that she's been a hurricane and she's always causing trouble and stirring the pot and making things interesting by doing that. And I can applaud that. Okay, I can applaud that. Of course, my first interaction when I saw Sammy act like a jackass at Eric's wedding, um, I was like, oof, this is Sammy, huh? Yeah, I'm not exactly a fan of this chick. Um, I guess people can sit there and maybe consider Bella to be more boring, more toned down, but and again, this is exactly why I feel that they put in Jan Spears every few years or so just to make them interesting. Because otherwise, you might as well go back to Hong Kong or whatever the hell they were before they came back to Salem. Um, anyway, she's crying on the shoulder. One thing leads to the next, and well, they're making it out. And I will say this. I feel like with this actor that plays EJ, listen, there's a fine line between kissing in a passionate soap opera way as opposed to kissing in an adult movie sort of way. Okay, I I know that I know that I saw a tongue in there. I know I saw a tongue in there because I was like, this is this kissing kind of real. Like, I get that kissing scenes, any kissing scene seems kind of real, but it seems a little this seems a little more adult. Like um, I don't want to say pornish, but it's not normal TV kissing. Um, I know that's not the first time I've seen him kiss somebody like that. When he kissed Nicole, it was like, here's the thing. I cannot be the only person that noticed that. Okay, I know I'm not the only person that noticed that. You can sit there, rewatch it yourself. I know what I saw. I know the difference. Okay, just take my word. I know the difference. Oh, and Leo Stark takes a bunch of pictures of Sonny, half naked, and I guess he sells it to some sort of gossip tabloid. Because at some point when Will comes back, he's not exactly too thrilled. He's like, "Yeah, I came back, and well, I got a news alert." And of course, he showed him the online thing of looked like they like had a good time in the bed or whatever. The wild night with Sonny Kariakis, I guess. Um, Now, of course, Sonny comes into the living room when Victor's sitting there eating food, and this dude is literally still sitting there putting on his pants. I mean, buckling up his pants. I'm like, yo, what was you? I'm just gonna keep going. So anyway, he's getting dressed. He looked like he's disheveled. Apparently he's late for work. And Victor's like, yo, you want to bender? Like, was you drinking? You look like, wow, hmm, you look like hell. Yeah, cannot find a better euphemism than that. And at some point, he does tell Victor about Leo, the fruit, and how in reality it wasn't the fruit. He finds out that it was the cookies. And he's like, well, I got to go to work. And Victor's like, no, you need to go to get your system checked because um, Leo committed a crime. So, he makes an appointment with Kayla. And before, he can go there, he sees Will. And, that's what happens. But it's always good to sit there and see my guy, Victor. I'm not going to lie, this guy is so funny. And I wish. This is one of those things where it's like, and I've said this before when I first started watching the show. I was like, man, I wish I wish that I was watching the show earlier. I really do. Because I don't know, I feel like I've missed a lot of really cool storylines. You know, with me, I am somewhat of a very rigid person. Like when I like something, I stick to it. When I like a certain breakfast, I stick to it. When I like a certain lunch, I stick to it. Um, and so, in that way, it's also applies to the soap operas that I watch. When I was watching General Hospital, I was like, I don't know because the acting and the characters and they're just different, and I don't really know about that. And you know, for me, I felt like the acting was going to be so different that I was not gonna, I was not gonna really gravitate towards it. I remember a long time ago, I think I might have turned into Y&R or something like that, and just hearing the way that the characters talk back then, I was like, and granted, these might have been older actors, but they were talking, I was like, man, I know this is like the 2000s, but this feels like the early 70s, like, or the 60s at the very least. So it kind of pushed me away from watching the other show that wasn't GH or Port Charles or One Life to Live. Because I felt like they weren't really modern. And man, was I wrong. But oh, and Leo goes to see Gwen, and he's all like, "Oh, how would you like to sit there and help me, set up my next revenge scheme or whatever." So, yep, we're gonna sit there and see a little bit more of Gwen because you know reason. Now, granted, this is a good reason. Usually when a character gets thrown in jail, that's pretty much about it, unless another character comes to sit there and see them often, like when Franco went to go see Heather Weber and things of that nature. Otherwise, it's just like, what's really the point? We know what you're in there doing. We don't really care unless you plan on breaking out. That's the truth of the matter. Anyway, feel like I'm done. Really do feel like I'm done. So yeah, with that being said, I think maybe it's some OCD thing, but I feel like let me double check. Yeah, no, I think that's actually about it. I was not there thinking, I was like, why did I forget Ava and Gabby? I was like, no, I covered those two. So yeah, with that being said, I'm gonna go. I want to thank you for watching. Be safe. Have a great, safe weekend, and I'll see you in the next video.